This show has made me so unbelievably lonely I want to cry. But before we start, let me just say my reviews on these shows are completely my own. I'm not involved in fandoms or any social media dedicated to BLS. So all the opinions I make are mine and not influenced by other reviews. Same goes for things that might be a huge topic of discussion on other platforms, but I didn't even notice or thought about, so I might totally miss details. But it's all in the sake of keeping my reviews personal. Also, I will avoid giving strong spoiler. With that in mind, let's go to the review of My School President. I was considering if I should even make this video because usually when I review shows I have criticism or at least anything to point out about it, but in this one I don't. I loved it so much that even the details that weren't as good didn't bother me enough to be worth mentioning. Let's start with the plot of the show first. This show is a super cute high school slow pinning love story, where Tin has been in love with Gun for a long time and is taking small steps to finally start a relationship with him, even if at first he has to pretend to be his enemy. You can hardly go wrong with an enemies to lovers, even though the enemies part doesn't last super long. The fact Tin was in love with Gun the whole time made me kick my feet and giggle. I can't reinforce it enough, but this show is pure fluff. But hopefully that doesn't surprise anyone, since I hope no one was expecting spicy scenes on a high school show. Even though it's a high school story, the producers didn't use this as an excuse to make the characters dramatically childish. Usually in high school shows we get the predictable drama with the same old miscommunication, and even though the conflicts in this show were far from original, they were dealt with within one episode and without dragging it further. For example, in a scene where Tin is confessing to Gun that he likes someone in the music club, I was so expecting Gun to believe he meant someone else from the club. For example, Sound. And for this to be a whole plot conflict where there's this misunderstanding of Gun thinking Tin likes Sound goes on and on. Like I said, even though the conflicts were very traditional, there wasn't a lot of unnecessary miscommunication and childish behavior between the couple. This all boiled down to the cutest, fluffiest, least toxic main couple I have ever seen in a show in my life. There were also side couples, and even though they were very nice, they didn't outshine the main one, which, for some reason, happens a lot with me. Mostly because I get bored of the main couple once the show starts to drag on their story for too long, which didn't really happen. Even though the story is very slow pining, it kept me interested until the last minute. Anyways, back to the side couples. I hope there is a spin-off series for that one side couple that showed up more towards the end. If you know, you know. Also, one last thing to point out. This show is super funny. It's so corny, I loved it. This show has a lot of musical moments, and even though I'm a hater of those, simply because I find them too cringy to watch, I actually didn't mind most of them here. Why? Because the songs are so fucking good, oh my god. This one scene in particular made me take off my headphones, so I use Shazam on my phone. It's so good. This guy can sing. Other than having an amazing host, the actors here are pretty good singers, which helped making the awkwardness of musical moments kind of tamed. Also, fourth stage presence, even though most of the scenes are lip sync, is so good. Him and the others looked so thrilled when performing, you kind of forget you are watching a show and not a music video or performance. There are multiple scenes where they shove a whole 3-minute music video into the episode, kind of in a montage moment. I'm kind of neutral about it. Maybe in another circumstance it would have annoyed me, but I didn't really mind it because I didn't feel like the show needed that time that was being wasted. Plus the show was still so good that complaining about silly little montages is unnecessary. Actors and characters. Throughout the show I kept going back to check how old this cast was, and I was shocked every time. Like most of these actors are under 20. The two main ones, Fourth and Gemini, are both 18. That's so young, but the talent, oh my god. I don't wanna dwell too much on each individual acting because let's be real, I know shit about acting, but they're so, like Tin's shyness made me so, and that look and smile Gun would give Tin. I was so sad. It's so cute. The emotional scenes were so beautifully done too. There's not a single bad thing to point out about any of the cast really. And the fact they're also talented musicians, what the fuck. Also, going back to the age thing, it was nice to know the age of the cast didn't differ too much from the age of the characters. It's not super important, but I think it really gives a different energy to the show. About the characters, I loved how involved the side characters were. For example, Two literally carried the entire show on his back. You really got to know them and get familiarized with all of them. They weren't just Tin or Gun's friends, which is super cool. The cast is super talented, and I'm glad they weren't just in the background. My favorite characters. Besides Tin and Gun of course, were Tidwin Pub. I loved them so much, like look at this guy. I love him. There was also a very small lesbian couple which was adorable. I loved this show so much. I would give my firstborn to be able to erase my brain and watch it all again. When I watch it later with my bestie, I think I'm gonna suggesting drinking a shot of a soft drink like wine or champagne whenever tooth-rotting fluff happens. If I don't make it back to this channel, then you know why. I don't wanna get ahead of myself since we're barely in March yet, but I think my favorite BL of 2023 is pretty settled, and it's gonna be pretty hard to beat. I don't like to kiss up to companies, especially entertainment companies, but GMM really is ahead of the game when it comes to Thai LGBT shows. And don't get me wrong, they still have a lot of improving to do, especially when it comes to lesbian or non-cis representation, but you can't deny they're just producing the best content, and continues to show time and time again, the most thoughtful, soul-wrenching, with actual representation, shows in the last years have come from GMM. Bad Buddy, Not Me, The Eclipse, 1000 Stars, My School President. Anyways, I'm getting way out of topic, so here's the final thoughts. I'm gonna go to my dentist, since my teeth are probably decaying out from how sweet this show was. Bye.